Hello and welcome to College Football Predictions, Week 5, 2023. And last week we went 3-2, so we had another winning week. So far, the only losing week we've had was the first week when we went 2-6. But other than that, man, we've been winning every single week. Our record is 11-12 right now, so we're knocking on the door of 50-50. I thought last week was going to be the final weekend of September. Looks like we are able to squeeze out one more day, I think, September. Yeah, so we have one more day, September 30th. So we're catching it on the final tail end. We'll have 5 weeks in September. So, whew, man, anything to have a winning record so that way I can just be just like, in 2022 when we had all 3 months. So hopefully can have another winning week and we can do fairly well. So week 4 notes. Okay, so yesterday, I'm shooting this video on Thursday. I'm sorry I'm getting this out late to you guys. Just got some news that I have to move again because my great landlord that I'm renting from has decided that she sold the house, or she's selling the house, and that I have to leave. So I got to pack up my huge craps table and everything else and go find a new location once again. So that's the story of No 7's life. I moved 5 times in 4 years. Anyway, getting back to college football. So I'll be looking for a new place. So that's what I was doing yesterday, and that's the reason why I could not do the college update. So getting it done now. Mel Tucker is gone from Michigan State. Like I was telling you, for the past 2 or 3 weeks now, about the whole entire Ogeron, getting fired at LSU back in 2020, 2021, and people looking for all those contracts and monster payouts. So this is going to be a huge battle, but they finally got him out, and they're going to move on with their program. Mel Tucker's a great coach, don't get me wrong. He just wasn't worth the 10-year, $95 million contract. And so he's going to be back. And, I mean, don't feel sorry for him. He made $20 million in 2 years. So, hey, look, that is not bad at all. He doesn't even need to come back at all if he doesn't want to. But I have a feeling we're going to see him back in another program in about 4 or 5 years. Oregon had a severe beatdown, and they kept their mouth shut, and they let all their talking was on the field, and they proved to Colorado that when you go up against a really good team, you got to bring it, and it was just a beatdown. There's really not much to say. The statement was made, and the head coach for Oregon pretty much said, we're not here for clicking for likes. We're here for hits, or something like that. He said. I watched the whole game. It was really good. Florida State barely squeaks by Clemson in the overtime. I don't know if you saw that throw in the end zone, but man, that was I got to hand to Clemson, man. They came out and they played really, really tough. I had a lot of people comment about that game, all picking Clemson and telling me I was getting a little too far ahead of myself. But I just had a feeling that if Florida State, whoever had that ball last, let me just put it to you this way, whoever had the ball last was going to win that game. And Florida State, pretty much they didn't have the ball last because it went to Clemson in the final overtime minutes. But Florida State threw the pass and got in the end zone, and then Clemson had a chance, and Clemson couldn't do it. But they're saying that they're already looking ahead into the college football playoffs. And I'm kind of surprised because he's still got to play Miami, and Miami is no slouch. They have an offense designed just like Florida State. And they still got to play Florida. And I know Florida's not the same as like they always are, but don't be looking too far ahead. I think either Florida or Miami is going to be a little bit of a trap game for them. So watch those games coming up. Next up, Texas is looking strong. They handled against Baylor. That was one of my losses last week. I thought Baylor was going to keep up with them, and instead Texas just went ahead and just blew the doors off of them. Ohio State, man, if you saw that game, that game came down to the wire, and I mean literally, I mean 1 second left, and they punched it in on the 1 yard line with no time. Everybody lined up, and wanted to see if he crossed the plane, and then I think they gave him 1 second left on the game clock to give Notre Dame one chance, which I don't even know why the game was over. Once when you kick you kick off to them with 1 second, there's really nothing you can do. The chances of that are pretty slim. But if you listen to Ryan Day, he was really pumped up after or emotional after the game. He pretty much called out all the naysayers and said, he's tired of everybody putting down Ohio State and that Ohio State's garbage and everything else. I mean, he just went off on a tangent for about 2 minutes, calling out Lou Holtz. I mean, he was going off. I mean, if you watch that game, his speech on the field after the game, I mean, right after the game, I mean, he was pretty much in tears. He was so passionate and so upset and everything else, and he finally proved his point that he can finally win the big game, and that I think Notre Dame was ranked number 11, but he was pretty fired up. But he might be fired up, and he might be excited that he went into Notre Dame and won, but he's still got a big opponent coming up right around the corner, and that's Michigan. So it'd be interesting to see how his boys perform over there, but hand it off, that was a really good game against Notre Dame and Ohio State, so that'd be interesting. All right, I know I'm getting up there in my time, so let's go ahead and start this week's picks, and let's go from there. So we have week 5, 2023. We have Iowa State. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Iowa State at Oklahoma. I didn't even. Okay, I know it. I forgot to write down the point spread. I did this at 3:00 in the morning last night because I was packing my boxes. So, excuse me if I forgot to write down some stuff. So I'll take care of that. So Iowa State is going to Oklahoma. We lost the Oklahoma bet last week due to a half a point because Oklahoma covered a 14, but they didn't cover the 14.5. So that was one of my losses also. Very heartbreaking. Oklahoma struggled against Cincinnati for a while, but they still kept it up. I think Oklahoma is now favored plus 17 in this, minus 17. They're not. They're not plus 17. If they're plus 17, I would take that all day long. Oklahoma is minus 17 against Iowa State. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is Oklahoma's still looking good, still playing a great brand of football. But after losing by half a point, that just kind of leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. I don't think Iowa State's going to be able to beat them. So I'm just going to go with the money line. They play at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Not a lot to go over. Just a pretty simple pick. We already know we've been picking them all single season pretty much. So let's go ahead and lock it in. Okay, so next up is Notre Dame at Duke. So Notre Dame just was handed their first loss. Hey, look, man, they're still a great team. There's nothing to discount about Notre Dame. Game day is going to be at Duke. The first time ever game day is going to be there. If you remember, Duke played Clemson, and they beat Clemson. I mean, they would have shut out Clemson if it wasn't for that crazy special teams fumble in the very beginning of the game. For week 1. But Notre Dame is going to come into this game very, very pissed off, and they're going to want some revenge. And Duke is not a slouch. I mean, normally you're like, yeah, Duke is just a basketball team, but they're not a football university. Well, that's quickly changing over there, and they're doing some amazing things with that program, especially with that head coach. So this is going to be a really, really close game. But the way that I view Notre Dame is I really think that as close as they played Ohio State, I think that they're a legitimate number 4, number 5 team in the nation. And so I don't think Duke is quite there. This is going to come down to a really, really close score. Minus 5.5 is pretty close to where I think this is going to be. I wouldn't take this if this goes Notre Dame minus 7. I would do it -6.5, and that would be it. If it's anything else, I would just kind of walk away from this game and just not even bet on it. But for -5.5, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Notre Dame, but look for a very low-scoring game probably in this. And I say this and watch this be a complete blowout on both teams. You know, it's a high offense, high octane, but I kind of see more of a different thing. This is the first time Duke is really going to get pressured and being playing a ranked opponent. I know Clemson was ranked when they went in there in week 1, and you do have a point, but this is a little bit different. This is after like the official rankings have been out for a couple of weeks, and you know you actually get the brass tacks of what you're really seeing in football teams. So, like I said, game day is going to be there. Duke is going to be playing with their hair on fire. They're going to be trying to prove something on national TV. Notre Dame is going to come in there all upset because they should have won that game against Ohio State. So look for just a very low-scoring defensive game. You know, you're probably going to see kind of like you saw last week. You know, it's going to be low-scoring. It's going to be close. But in the end, I think Notre Dame is going to pull away in the fourth quarter, and I think Notre Dame is just built to handle this kind of environment better than Duke is, being on the Saturday night stage and a whole entire nation looking at you. So we're going to go ahead and take Notre Dame -5.5. And like I was saying, if you want to phase this game, you know, I mean, if you don't want to have any part, there's plenty of great other games in this lineup this week. So you know, you don't even have to worry about this. I just wanted to throw it up there to give me a little bit more of a challenge. All right, next up is LSU at Ole Miss. This game is at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. LSU and Arkansas, just like it always is, close game. That's the reason why I did not take the LSU -17.5 in the game. I would have been way off. I could have taken Arkansas plus 17.5. I did have a couple of y'all send me some texts and some comments about that on the channel and saying, well, no sevens. If you think it's going to be a close game, why don't you take Arkansas plus 17.5? And I thought about that too. Because it's always been a close game, but after watching them play against Mississippi State, I didn't want to take that chance. I just went ahead and took the money line. The same thing with this game. LSU and Ole Miss, these games are always close. Lane Kiffin and the Lane Train, you know, being at Ole Miss, LSU kind of tends to struggle. This is going to be at a 5 p.m. It is a weird kickoff, 5 p.m. I had to do a double take when I saw 5 p.m. because you never see a 5 p.m. or 5:30. I think this one last year was a 5:30 p.m. You normally see a 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. A 5 p.m. is strange, but either way, it is how it is. Ole Miss went to go play Alabama this past week, and they kept it close for all about 5 minutes, and then Alabama just started walking away from them because they had to prove a lot of people that they were a true squad, you know, after a close game in South Florida the previous week. Ole Miss and LSU, this is always a rival game. You know, these games are always close. They're always, just so many traditional football games and so many close games in this, and it's a heated rival. It's gone back for a while now. And I'm looking at the point spread right now, and they got LSU -10 in this right now. That's what I'm looking at, if I'm looking at the right one. Either way, it doesn't really matter. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take LSU, and we're going to take the money line and just be on a safe bet. We're looking for LSU just to win the game outright. Looking for Jaden Daniels to keep on throwing touchdowns, and looking for LSU to keep on finding its identity, and looking to hand Ole Miss its second loss in a row. I'm sorry if I'm like rambling on a little bit. I'm really tired. I had a person call me at 7 o'clock. I went to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had a person call me at 7 o'clock in the wrong number. So I didn't sleep at all last night, so I apologize. Penn State is -26.5 at Northwestern. There's really not a lot to break down, guys. This is just going to be a really nasty beatdown. Penn State had the whiteout game last week. Looked terrific. They're doing really well this year. Really proud of that program. I know they've been struggling for a couple years, and now they seem like they've been able to get everything moving forward with the program. So I'm really happy with what Penn State is doing. Penn State's going to cover this spread, I think, within the first 2 quarters of the game, and then by halftime it's going to be Penn State 30, Northwestern 0. Look for Northwestern to score some points in garbage time in the fourth quarter when they put in their third and fourth string. But for the meantime, there's really not a lot to break down. We're going to go ahead and take Penn State minus 26.5, and I think they're going to easily cover this spread. Okay, so next up is Washington at Arizona. So funny story is last week it was pack after dark. I was doing all right. I was making some side bets that I like to just do when I'm watching, because like I said, I wake up from 8:30 in the morning is college game day for me, and I don't turn off that TV till 2 a.m. and I'm just kind of just playing around, making some small bets and having fun. Well, I did a Pac-12 after dark for me bet, and I took all the underdogs in it, to cover, the point spreads, and I won all 3. I did a parlay, and it was kind of interesting because Washington was playing UCLA last week, and that game literally came down to the last minute of the game. And if UCLA did not score that touchdown in garbage time, I would have lost that parlay. So I was kind of happy. But I was able to watch Washington. So the point of the story is I was able to watch Washington for the first time this past weekend. And boy, they are a legitimate team. I mean, I really think it is theirs to lose the Pac-12 championship. I really think that whoever they play, and I think it's going to be Oregon. I don't think USC is going to be it. USC struggled against Arizona State last week. They were favored to win by 34 points, and Arizona State easily was able to take those points and easily cover, even though they did lose. But Washington is minus 17.5. I really like Washington. They are a high-scoring, great defensive team. I'm really surprised that this point spread is not kind of like the Penn State point spread. So once again, if you haven't watch the Washington football team, go ahead and check them out. They're at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I really expect just Washington to easily cover this within the first quarter. Great team. They look very complete for a football team in the Pac-12. Probably one of the most complete besides Oregon. And that's probably who you're going to probably see is Oregon and Washington. I think that's how it works, right? Is the Pac-12 you can play? It's the top 2 teams, right? It's not like how it used to be, because I remember Pac-12 used to have like the South and the North, right? So I think it's just the 2 best teams are going to play each other. You guys can comment below and let me know if that's still correct. So let's go ahead and take Washington to cover minus 17.5. Okay, so I think it was last week. It was the first time Jim Harbaugh. I know I don't like saying his name because he was a 49ers coach, but I'll go ahead and mention his name for this week because I'm too tired to care. Michigan is playing Nebraska. If you saw Oklahoma play Nebraska, you know that Nebraska has no offense whatsoever. Plenty of defense, no offense. Well, Michigan has got both offense and defense. It's minus 17.5. I really like Michigan to easily cover this. Nebraska is going to keep them in this game for about the first 2 quarters, and then eventually Michigan is going to start walking away. Look for old coach Jimmy Boy, is what I guess I'll call him right now, to go ahead and start pulling away in the third and fourth quarter. He's got a couple big games coming up in October, so look for this as kind of like a tune-up game. He's going to be running some new wrinkles in that offense, creating some more defensive packages. So that way he's getting his boys ready for some big games coming up in October. But I look for Michigan to easily cover the minus 17.5. I noticed that Michigan does not due to, well, if the point spread is over minus 17, minus 20 or above, it's where they kind of struggle. But at minus 17 and a half, I kind of like it. I kind of see them covering this. I see the end of this game where Michigan is about 40 or 50 points, maybe in the upper 30s. And Nebraska might have about 10 points, and that's about it in garbage time. So let's go ahead and lock in Michigan minus 17 and a half. So we have Michigan minus 17 and a half. Okay, so we're going to go over it real quick for you guys. Oklahoma money line, Notre Dame minus 5.5, LSU money line, Penn State minus 26.5, Washington minus 17.5, and Michigan minus 17.5. All right, so I wanted to do a big money parlay. I haven't done one of these, I don't think, this year. So let's go ahead and do one. We're going to take USC money line. They're playing Colorado, so that's going to be a really interesting game after Colorado received their first loss last week, and the close win at Arizona State for USC. Michigan minus 17.5. We just went over that game. LSU money line, and if you don't want to take the money line for LSU, you can stay out of that. That's completely fine. You can pick another team. Oregon minus 27.5. We didn't go over that game. I forgot who they're playing, but anyway, minus 27.5. Oklahoma money line, we went over that. And the Washington, we went over that also, minus 17.5. That's the reason why we like Michigan and Oregon and Washington to cover their point spreads. The total odds is 1,243 for all those teams. Like I said, if you were to phase out LSU, it'll probably drop you down to a plus 900. So if you throw like $10 or $20 on it, you're going to clean up quite well. If you want to be like my friend over here, big money bags, you can throw in $100 and throw caution to the wind and see how well you do. But guys, that is it. I am extremely tired. I am ready to go back to bed and get some sleep. So hopefully, I apologize if I was on a rant. And I didn't make complete sense, because when I'm talking to you, I don't even feel like I'm making sense. So hopefully it's not that bad. And guys, I look forward to seeing you in week 6 for October. And next week is the halfway point. Hard to believe it is already halfway over with college football. So good luck with your picks this week. I'm sorry I kept you a little bit over. But like I said, good luck with your picks. And No Sevens is going to catch you on week 6.